I am blown away. I finished the book this morning. Okay.
You did?
I finished it this
What?
morning. Yes.
Okay. Wow, that's great, man. Yeah, I'm so happy that you had a chance to purge through it. However you describe the read of it.
There's so many things. I mean, Rob, if you and I hung out, we would talk for hours.
We would.
We would
Yeah.
talk for hours. Our lives, in many ways, are interconnected because of what we do, because of the successes that we've had.
Right.
It's interesting because I think people assume that guys like us know each other and hang out all the time, and and oh, you must know those guys, right? But here's something for you. Do you remember ever meeting me in a social situation? Ever?
Do you know? I don't think we have we? It's either been in a dressing room briefly before we went on stage, or in an airport or a truck stop, or any of that kind of stuff. But no, and that's a really important thing to kind of noodle around in your brain, so to speak, because I know you as a friend through your music,
right?
The shows we've done together and all that other cool stuff. But as far as sitting down as we are now, and we could talk all day,
right?
This is a first. So,
well, believe it or not, I will tell you where we met socially. It was weird. Okay. And I have to say, let me just preface everybody. This is the French Connection. I'm JJ French, and I am so pleased to have someone who is not just a peer, but an idol to Twisted Sister, someone we've looked up to, and I'll get into that for a while because I could sit here and just babble on about it. But Rob Halford is joining me today for my French Connection podcast, and thank you, Rob, for joining me.
It's a real pleasure to be with you, JJ. It's great to see you, buddy.
So here's how we met. Weirdly enough,
all right,
I'm a New York kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Around 1992, 93, 94, I'm down on 48th Street. I walk into Sam Ash.
Yes.
You're standing there on the counter. I walk up to you. Some guy at Sam Ash introduces us. Hi,
Yes.
JJ. Hi, Rob. How you doing? And then we have a little small talk. You were out of the band at the time. Twisted Sister was out. I was a stereo salesman. The band broke up. My book is coming out, and it's going to tell that crazy story. But you're not in Priest anymore. I'm not in Twisted anymore.
Yes.
We're meeting at the counter of Sam Ash.
Okay.
And you said, well, listen, I got to go, but here's my business card. And you hand me a business card with your name, Rob Halford, on it. Okay. And I had not had a business card at that point because I thought a heavy metal guy doesn't have a business card.
Yeah.
And you handed me a business card. And I went, if Rob Halford has a business card, I'm going to have a business card. So I went out and I had business cards made.
Oh, God, that's hilarious.
So I thought,
man. Oh, that's crazy. But how sweet is that we met in Sam Ash? Because, Tower Records, all of those great places that we used to hang out musically. So many people, so many bands, musicians especially, hooked up in record stores.
Yeah.
Either just by that just amazing way that life takes you, how we saw each other at that point. But I don't know why the hell I had business cards made up. Can you remember what was on them?
It said fight. I think it had Rob Halford, vocalist, fight, I think is what it had. And I'm like, Rob Halford, vocalist, fight. What the fuck? I'm like, okay, what do I put? JJ French, guitarist? So do you remember having a business card?
I do. Now, you come to think of it. And I think that I think the main purpose of that was when I would meet fans, that there would often be the opportunity of like, can I have your autograph? And there's nothing around.
Right.
So that was the and was this just like when the internet was beginning to start as well?
Yeah.
So I think if I'm not wrong, I had a couple of batches made, and I think I had one was Rob Halford, the Metal God, and then my AOL address, and then you know for fans, I would just put my name on the back, and that was part of the deal. And I was also hustling. You know, I was hustling for Fight. I was trying to get the band working, and you know, we had a great thing with Epic at the time. So, yeah, how crazy is that? But that was a very short-lived social media.
Yeah, so that's where that was where
wow.
two guys in famous bands hanging out on 48th Street have one of those innocent conversations.
That's mad.
And that was it. So I should have kept the card, damn it. I didn't keep the card. I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah, you'll probably find them on eBay now. $2.
I should print them up. So a couple of things before we really dig into it, because the book was amazing. Amazing. Okay. I'm so proud of what you did. I can't begin to tell you. I mean, I just can't. But let me just say this. Here's my first memory of Judas Priest ever.
Yes.
Twisted Sisters in the dressing room of a New Jersey club called Zaffy's.
Yeah.
It's 1978.
Okay.
And the DJ at the club plays two records that just came out the same week.
Right.
Van Halen's album and the album which is with Exciter. Okay, I'll tell you in a second. So those are okay. So he plays Van Halen 1, and then he plays Stay in Class. Okay, so he plays. So he plays Eruption, and he plays Exciter. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, here we are, a band, like a cover band in a club, playing a couple of originals, you know, trying to slowly evolve, right? Because a purely cover band. And which we spent 10 years as a cover band, you know, as a quote bar band. And you come out, I think, you know, we had already played a couple of AC/DC songs. We had played a couple of Dio songs. But when we heard Exciter, I went out and bought the album. And the minute I bought the album, I noticed you did a song called Better By You, Better Than Me. And that's by Spooky Tooth. And here we go, my Spooky Tooth album. With Better By You, Better Than Me. It's one of my favorite albums, one of my favorite bands. And I fell in love with your band. I fell in love with your sound. And here's the bottom line. When people say to me, what bands did you cover? How many songs did you play of the bands that you covered? AC/DC, we did about 3 songs. Ozzy, we did a couple. Sabbath, we did a couple. Van Halen, we did a couple. This is how many Priest songs Twisted Sister played in the bars. Hellbent for Leather, Breaking the Law, Grinder, Living After Midnight, Diamonds and Rust, Hot Rock, and Green Man Leashy, and Head Out to the Highway. That's
8 crackers, as we would say. 8 crackers.
That's how many songs Twisted Sister played with Judas Priest.
Beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
Okay.
That's
when
great.
When we're asked about what motivated Twisted Sister, what did we want to sound like? We evolved into a band that was kind of like AC/DC / Judas Priest, right?
Okay.
We like the blues side of AC/DC.
Yes.
We love the metal part of Judas Priest. Now, September 8th, 1979, we play a concert with you guys in New Jersey. Any recollection of that whatsoever? Did it mean nothing in your brain?
Was it on the water? Was it on
Boardwalk in Atlantic City?
I remember it vividly. Yeah, I remember it vividly. Totally, I remember that show. Yeah.
So, and people say to me, JJ, what? Anybody blow you away in your Twisted Sister? And we're like, oh, we fuck everybody. Our job is to blow every band away. We're a predatory band. We eat bands. But the truth is, we were taken to school 3 times. And I will tell you this, Rob, I have played in Twisted 9,000 shows, over 9,000 performances. Okay. 3 shows, we were taken to the wood chipper. One of them, the first time ever, was that show with you. And I will tell you what it was. We were a huge band in Long Island at the time. Yes. We were selling out huge clubs. We had already played to 22,000 people at an outdoor show that summer in Long Island. The clubs held 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people. We were like stars in our own little world. And now we get a shot to open up for the band whose songs make up half our a quarter of our repertoire. And we do our show. And of course, it's 3,000 people sold out. And they're the same fans you had. So they loved
Judas,
us, right? And they're screaming, and we're thinking, man, fuck Priest, right? Fuck it, right? And I go up to the balcony and I watch your show. And I went home that night going, fuck. Okay. What the fuck? Like, I got to figure this shit out. Actually, before I did that, I went down to talk to the guitar tech. So I wanted to know how you guys got your guitar sound. And they wrote it down for us. And we went out and bought the Marshall amps that matched it. That's how much the sound of what you did mattered to Twisted Sister. Okay.
Wow, that's just so powerful, man. That's just really, really powerful, and it's so beautiful of you to share that kind of emotion. And I tell you what that does, it just reinforces what I think most of us would agree about, and that is that we're all kind of, even if we're not socially connected, as we said earlier, we're musically connected. We're always seeking out each other for ideas and for inspiration and all of the other good stuff that motivates the beginnings of a band. It's very true. And so, yeah, I really appreciate that. That's just a very genuine and beautiful thing for you to say. Yeah, and it's true. We go back forever, Priest and Sister, you know, and I've made my voice heard on how much we've been excited and pleased and happy to work with Sister over the years, and we still maintain a good friendship with Dee and everything that he represents with Twisted Sister. So that's just great, man. That just really qualifies a lot of things. When you hear it spoken out like that, it just becomes really solid.
Well, when you don't have to bullshit someone, you can tell them the truth. It's always easy.
Well,
because
you see,
it's just like there's nothing to put it. You know.
I think partly about that speaking the truth is because where I'm from in the UK and where you're from in the United States, our backgrounds of truth and honesty and speaking it out to your face. This is how I feel. This is what I'm saying. You know, it's important to have that conviction because you cut all the bullshit out of the way.
Is that why we don't live in Los Angeles?
Well, you know, there's all these stories of all these different bands from all these different parts of the world, and everything's got different textures, doesn't it? But I think that for me and you, because we have the same kind of distinctive characters from our backgrounds, from our families, from the neighborhoods, from where we went to work, our early journey into music, the dreams we had, how strong we fought for it, and all the other important parts of the character makeup that makes you a person. I value that, and I'm sure you value it. I'm sure you're as proud of where you're from, and as I am from my part of the world. I've still got my accent. I've still got my Birmingham accent. Right. You know, I cherish that. Like you cherish
Rob, you do know though, we were both signed out of the Marquee Club, which I find actually interesting.
Is that right?
Yes, we were signed. We were signed out of the Marquee Club. Not only that, you started in '73. Yes. The band Twisted started in '73. Dee joined in '76. Okay. But we got signed. Originally we were signed to a smaller label, like you guys were. We were signed as a punk band, like you guys were looked on as a punk band. In fact, I listened to your entire. Not only did I read the book, I listened to your entire song anthology for the last 3 days. Okay.
Wow, that's okay. That's great. Yeah.
Going back to Rockarola, because I wanted to hear how you wrote songs back in those days. And believe it, it's interesting because the composition of the way we both wrote, we didn't know each other, was pretty much the same. Like we both came out of a rudimentary metal concept that eventually evolved. And the nature of the I don't know how to put it, the naivete,
Yes.
the
journey.
feeling, the journey was pretty damn close. So I felt even more connected when I listened to it, because I said, wow, we really kind of mirrored this journeys together, you know? And then of course, the book. I have to tell you, Jane Andrews is, as you know, she's your manager. I've known Jane for 37 years, okay? And Jane introduced me to my second wife. I was married to an Essex girl. No, let's have no puns about that. But we had a flat in Stoke Newington. We had a place in Basildon, and we lived in England for long stretches of time. And I spent 13 summers in Cornwall, if that's impressive to you. I hope it is.
Wow, because, beautiful part of the UK.
Beautiful parts of it. So we spent an awful long time. And Janie is absolutely wonderful. So I feel from that level as well, there's a huge connection between us. You know, there's an enormous connection. And reading the book, my first question was, did you leave anything out, Rob? Did you leave anything out?
Well, we did, yes, we did. Ian Gittins, who I always bring into the conversation as we start to talk about the book, he and I sat down and spoke for 50, 60 hours, I think, total. It's funny, really, because I've never done a book like this before, and I probably won't ever need to do it again. But when we first started to talk, I said, Ian, just give me a ballpark figure of like how many hours we'll spend. He said, well, you know, because I've done a bunch of these books before, I would say about 15 hours. And I thought he said 50. And I go, oh, yeah, you know, yeah, you say 50 or 15? He goes, 15? I went, no, dude. Once I start flapping my lips, you know, it's going to be hard to stop, because the Halford clan, the Halford family, we love to talk. We love people. We just love to tell stories. So we ended up talking forever. And we had a massive amount of words that we sent to Headline Hachette. And then I got into the editing. Like when we make music, you know, the singer always wants 20 verses, but you only really need 4, that kind of deal.
Right.
You know, same with lead guitar breaks. And so a producer, and especially, will say, no, you know, to get the essence across, we can just lose this and lose that. So it was tough. So we did have to set aside quite a bit of material. Whether that'll get used at some point, I don't know. But some of it was purely for legal reasons, because again, you got to be careful. You know, we're saying at the start of the book that we've changed names to protect the innocent and the guilty. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff left over, and we have to think about what we're going to do with it at some point. It would be a shame to leave it on the cutting room floor, or whatever they say, you know. Right. So maybe there'll be an extended edition at some point. I don't know. But a tremendous amount of information. But again, the editing side did a fabulous job, because they kept the pace and the energy and the emotion. I tell you what I found out, JJ, it's a bit like making a record, writing a book. You know how a record takes you, because I mean, the thing I love about Twisted Sister is that you made albums, like Priest makes albums. To find out what Priest is doing at any given moment, to find out what Twisted Sister is doing at any moment, you listen to the whole record, not just 1 or 2 songs, where you do now today with playlists. So a book is very similar to that. I feel, you know, the way it ebbs and flows, and the dynamics and the emotions and everything else. And they say that your life is a musical journey, and I think there's some truth in that, because when you're reading some parts of that book, you can hear the song Exciter running in your head, and then there are other parts where you hear Beyond the Realms of Death. You know, there are other parts where you hear Breaking the Law when I'm in jail, all that kind of stuff. It's remarkable, really, how some of the interpretations of the chapters of the book can kind of marry themselves to the actual songs of Priest, and that was just a revelation to me.
Well, for those people who are buying it because the metal god is writing a book about Priest, that's cool, because, you know, you tell a lot of stories about Priest that metal fans want to hear. But what you really talk about, and what the title of the book is aptly titled, is Confess, is you confess. From page 1, you leave nothing out. You're basically saying, this is me, this is who I am, and this is the story of who I am. If you don't fucking like it, put the book down now, because it's just going to get crazier as it goes on. And it gets crazier. It goes on. So I'm reading this book, and this is what I'm thinking. And I actually emailed Jane this comment, you know, Jane Andrews. I said, Jane, this is the irony of me and Rob. Rob is in a metal band. He's a metal guy. He's gay. He doesn't want the world to know about it. He's afraid. I said, I'm in a band. I'm trying to act gay. I'm trying to be stoned, and I don't want the world to know that I'm straight. That'll destroy my reputation. If the world knew how straight Twisted Sister was, our reputation would be destroyed. It's almost, we were warned by the record label. We were warned, do not tell people that you guys are happily married guys. Do not tell them that you don't drink. Do not tell them you don't do drugs. That will destroy your career. So we're in hiding. I mean, I'm so scared about people finding out how straight I am that I would walk out of an arena to go to the bus, right? Fans come over, hey, JJ, let's get high. I had to come up with excuses like, I got the clap, man. I'm on penicillin. They go, oh, okay, cool.
Right.
All right, we don't want to touch him. He's got VD, man. Like, that's how I had to act. So, because I thought, if I had VD, that's cool, right? He's got a sexually transmitted disease, man.
Yeah.
Good for you, right? So I'm living a kind of lie, kind of humorously, but still in all. You are, of course, trapped in this story. So did you think at the very beginning when the book was being conceived, did you say it's all got to be there? Everything has to be out from the beginning. Was that you?
Yeah, well, again, I was directed by my confessor, as he's now being known as, Ian Gittins. I said to him, you know, is there anything that we don't want to go? And he, what do you mean by that? And I talked about, you know, Brad's suicide and the other things that have gone on in my life.
All right.
And he said, well, it's entirely up to you, but my immediate reaction as your guide, you know, we put this book together, is you speak it all out. Like, just speak it all out and we'll figure out what to do with it afterwards, you know. Don't let your kind of mindset be sidetracked by, we're coming up to something that is really important to me, but I don't know whether I should share it, because he said that's when things start to get messy. Just lay it all out. Let's try and get as much as you can remember, and then when we've got everything, when we've stopped. And I remember the day vividly when he left my kitchen at the house in Walson and walked off into the mist because it was a winter's evening, and there he had absolutely everything. He had absolutely everything. All I'd done was talk like this, you know. It was his job then to get the transcripts back and to make sense of it, put the jigsaw puzzle together of my life, and make it into this book, Confess. So when he walked away, I did have some thought, you know, afterthought about, well, should I have said this or should I have said that? Was this the right thing to do, you know? And then I immediately, you know, checked myself and I said, well, no, because once you start putting those thinking processes into place, then the book belongs to somebody else. It doesn't belong to you. Okay. Once you start saying, I hadn't better say this because of that person, I hadn't better say that because of this person, then you're losing the truth and honesty that this book has to have. So that was the kind of psychological, mental side of making this book so brutally honest.
How long did it take you to do the book?
That's a good question. We would work for about 4 or 5 hours a day, Monday to Friday. We got a calculator because I'm crap at maths.
Okay.
It's my worst subject. I can't. And we spread it out, you know. We would, I think we would do like a week, and then he would need a week off to get the transcripts and put it into some kind of fluent place. That's basically how we worked. We worked here in Phoenix, where I'm talking to you from now today, and we wrapped it up over in the UK.
Over how long a period of time, you figure?
So it was about 50, 60 hours. So
okay.
We started in the summer, in the blazing summer
right.
of Phoenix last summer, and we finished by the fall, winter of last year. So you could say 6 months with breaks, you know, back and forth with breaks, and then getting the chapters and looking at every chapter and really being hardcore about every single sentence, and you know, as intricate and as analytical as you can be without taking the soul out, as you need to be, because the one thing I love about Ian is like me with my music, you know, I'm super critical. I do have a tendency to overanalyze, which can be a bad thing, but Ian was a great buffer in that respect. He's a great guy. He's one of the best writers out there. So yeah, I mean, what I should do is send him an email after our chat and say, exactly how long did this book take to make in terms of days and hours and so forth. But I know there was this was thrown out months ago before I started working, promoting the book. It was about 50, maybe close to 60 hours of talk.
Let me ask you, when you were finally purging yourself, and telling these stories, and going back into your brain, was it hard to remember these things? Because the thing that blows me away about a lot of these memoirs is the specificity by which certain eras, times, and conversations take place. So we all approximate it, right? Like, look, I'm a storyteller. I'm sure you're a storyteller. The story of Twisted Sister, and my book is coming out, you know, but when my wife hears it, it's like, oh my God, the fish was this big and now the fish is this big. And, you know, and how big really is the fish? Because, you know, like when you're a storyteller, the fish gets bigger over the years.
Yes.
When you were recreating these images and thoughts, did stuff surprise you? What was coming out? I mean, were you kind of like, oh my God, I don't, how do I remember that?
Well, I'm happy to say that the bulk of it was from memory, and I think that's just because even though I went through all those turbulent years with my addictions, I was still able to remember some important parts of my life. And I mean, even to when I was a little kid and I sang that song at the front of the class.
Yep.
That's it's and I'm sure in your book and in your life, again, things that happened to you as a child live with you forever. They live with you forever. So a lot of those were already there, waiting to come out of the mouth. And then of course I would go to my sister Sue, Ian, our beautiful bass player Ian. He's got an indelible memory. So I'll go, yeah, I can't remember, blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, you did this and blah. And then we went there and did the priest related. Oh God, yeah. God, how did I forget that? So there were valuable people making some very important input. But it all seemed to, again, like a record, like a movie. It just went from scene to scene, you know. And there were some times where Ian would ask me a question. I'd go, dude, I got nothing. Where did you get that question from? Well, you know, I did my research and blah, blah, blah. So I'll go with it because I just don't know, you know. But if you're telling me this happened at this place at this time and you can support it with evidence, then it must have happened, you know. Maybe that was like a blackout moment, or I don't know, something happened, and so there it is. It's remarkable, really, because as I've moved on in life, I've valued now pushing away negative energy. I don't like negativity at all. It has no value, and there's a lot of what could be perceived as negative energy in this book, although it's more drama than negative. You know, it's more drama, it's dramatic. incidents, and I've remembered those.
Well, there's always redemption, Rob, in almost every story.
Yeah.
When it comes to your story, the beauty of it is, as fucked up as any situation is, there is a redemptive part to it. Because if it wasn't redemptive, you wouldn't be here right now. Okay, so there's an enormous amount of redemption and a hell of a lot of pain. Listen, I didn't have that pain, but I had plenty of my own pain. And I suffered through clinical depression and almost committed suicide, you know, because of it. And the day that I contemplated suicide was the day that I started a diary. And I kept the diary going for 15 years. And I do motivational speaking now. And I have a career as a motivational speaker. And I teach the twisted method of reinvention, which is TWISTED, tenacity, wisdom, inspiration, stability, trust, excellence, and discipline, which are the 7 rules by which I believe Twisted Sister made it. But when I tell the story, it is such a roller coaster ride that I say to myself, I've been turned down more times in a bedsheet in a whorehouse, and I've come back more times than Freddy Krueger. That's what I tell people, right? And but we all do. All of the survivors, we all have, the stories may be a little different, but the redemption part is the key. And we're all better for it. We're all better for it because the ones that survived it, the ones who came through it, look, I'm 68. I was born in 52.
69.
You're 69. So we come out of pretty much the same time, right?
Right. Yeah.
You know, when I was a teenager, I lost friends to drugs, and then everything was quiet for like 40 years, and now I'm losing them to natural causes. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And we're all suffering every day. We hear another story, but to the ones that survived, we all get together and we go, how did we get through that? You know, we talk about surviving, and you know what? We all have a life that we never could have predicted was going to happen to us.
Yeah.
Ever. Your story, the story about your parents was extremely poignant. Extremely. It broke my heart. My father died the day Stay Hungry went platinum. Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
And so when people say, well, how was it, man? You got a platinum record. I go, my father died that day.
They sucked,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it sucked, right? Yeah. So what was the only redemption was that I asked, it's funny, Dave Glue, who you know.
Yeah.
Dave Glue was at Atlantic.
Yeah.
And I said to Dave Glue, my father's dying. I'm on the road. The record's platinum. Can you send him a platinum record? So he sees it. So I come home in the middle of the tour. My father dies in my brother's arms. And 2 weeks later, my wife calls me and says, by the way, I forgot to tell you, the album arrived a couple of days before Dad died. And I took a picture of him holding it. And I have a picture of him holding the platinum record.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So it's very emotional.
Yes, absolutely. And that's just, you see, I wasn't really fully aware of what your work is now, JJ. And this is just unbelievable to hear you telling me these are the things that you're doing, because I think that as I've gotten older, the one important thing that I value more than everything else in my life is this simple act of love. You know, it's love. That's what it's all about. And I tell my stories, you tell your stories. We talk about the pain, we talk about the ups and downs of our lives. And I think we agree that we're not unique, we're not exclusive. Every single person on this planet goes through similar, if not identical, experiences. And this is something I'm sure that you register and you convey as a motivational speaker, that this great human consciousness, this great thing that brings us all together, is so very real and very true, and that we're all the time we're sidetracked by media, by other turbulence, by noise. And when you break it all down and get to the core simplicity of it, of living your life as a person on this planet, the connection that we have is absolutely so profound, and it has so much strength, and it has so much power, and it makes us all so related. We are literally one big human family. That's what we are. We're a big human family. Everybody on this planet has a connection to everybody else. And I think that when we talk about these things that happen to us in our lives, as we do, I can't wait to read your book and this book that I've just written. I think it just reinforces all of that, you know. And this thing about age bringing wisdom, I believe that now because I'm living it. I had no wisdom at 20. I really didn't have much wisdom at 40. But I think as I'm about to make my 70th trip around the sun, I've got some wisdom now, you know.
You know what I say to people, by the way, Rob? When people say to me, do you get along with Dee and Eddie and Mark? I go, we're so old, we forgot why we hate each other.
Exactly. It just doesn't make sense, does it? Doesn't make sense. But yeah, this is a beautiful thing about the power of communication as much as anything else, and how communication between people worldwide can take its expression in so many different ways, whether it's music, which is one of the most beautiful ways of communicating emotions and messages, to a book, to a movie, to a painting, to a flower in the garden, to a cloud in the sky. It's all of these beautiful things that are around us daily that we somehow get sidetracked from. And that's perfectly natural. That's just the way life works. But again, you can only say that the older you get, you simplify. You become much more simplified in everything, in what you deem as important. This is important. That's not important.
That's not important.
That's at the top of the pile. That's at a different place.
You say to yourself, in a year, will I even remember this bullshit? Like, it's not even important. Let me ask you, a thing about the book, of the many things I loved, the band was never judgmental about your choices, right? You never discussed it with them.
Exactly.
They may have known. They didn't talk to you. That was never an issue, but you were always concerned that if the word, quote, got out, it would destroy the career of the band. When it finally got out, right? When it finally did happen and you finally reformed, was there ever a group conversation about what it means that you're out? Like, did you ever go, well, fuck, I don't care who knows, it doesn't really matter to me? Or did you have those kinds of conversations, not in a judgmental way, but did you go, I wonder what it's going to be like now that I'm out? What did you think?
Because in the series of the timeline of events, when I did come out on MTV, I was away from the band at the time anyway.
Right.
And this has been a great little kind of fun head game to think about. If I hadn't have made that announcement at that point, and if I'd have stayed in the closet when I went back to Priest, would I have still stayed there? You know, because of that kind of self-imposed misconception that I created myself. It's very interesting. It's very interesting because everything you do in life has a consequence. You know, life is all about balance. You push this way, something pushes back.
Right.
You pull back this way, something pulls back. So how would things have turned out? I mean, they say hindsight, blah blah blah, but the important part of your question is this great thing about being in a band of brothers and sisters, whatever your makeup is. You're really united in a musical sense, but you 1,000% protect each other's privacy.
It's so true. It's so damn true. It's, you know what?
It's nobody else. Yeah.
People don't understand. They don't get it. Your band, our band, 40 years in, there's a family there, and we don't violate. We can be pissed off, but there's certain places where we just don't violate the trust, right?
Yeah.
And this is one of them.
Yeah, those were some of the things that I avoided in this book, because sure, I could tell stories about this person and that person, but I'm not going to, because there's a line. There's a line that I will never cross, because I love so-and-so so much. I love so-and-so so much. I'm not going to go by names, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
And so that's just the way it is. I think you've got to be very careful here, because your music is so precious, not only to yourself, but to your fans. And you have to bring the fans into the conversation. I think that once you start moving into an area that that kind of takes something away from the music and all the great things that you represent and all the things that you fought for, then the damage starts to get done, and the music becomes almost secondary. You know, it's as though the drama and all the exploits and everything else, they overtake the music. And that for me should never be the case. The music should lead you in your band. Right. So and then you got all the other stuff going on behind you.
In your mind, once you came out and everything was fine, was there a lot less backlash than you expected?
Yeah, there was. Again, I think times have changed to a certain extent. We've still got a long way to go. I talk about that a lot now. As a senior gay metalhead, you know. Yeah, the reaction was just beautiful, you know. Again, before the Instagrams and the Facebooks and everything, people would send me handwritten letters to the office post PO box, and leave voicemails on the business line, you know, and 99.99% of them was we don't care, you know, or we knew, dude, we knew. Right. So that again reinforced this whole business that I'm sure you are aware of, JJ, about this community that we live in together with our fans. That there's no judgmental attitude. There's just this broad acceptance,
love of the music,
each other, you know,
and the music.
And this is, let me just say this. This is what I've always loved about Twisted Sister, because the way I always admired the way you guys went out and did what you did with the way that you looked. I thought that took so much strength, you know, that took so much, biggest balls on the planet. You know, it was the absolute exercise of like, this is Twisted Sister. We are who we are. If you don't like it, fuck off, you know. And I love that kind of tenacity in a band. I love that self-belief and determination. And I think that you guys did an enormous amount of good in that respect, the way that you presented that message.
That's true. It was like, fuck you. This is us. You don't like, get the fuck out. We're not interested in your bullshit, right? Yeah. This is true.
The look was very edgy. The look was total rock and roll in what I've always determined as rock and roll, which is like to, you know, to shake the bars on the cage, and to kick the doors down and just to rattle everything and make a noise. And that's what Sister did forever, you know. It was just always in your face, you know. Even before you played a note, you just looked at the guys and you went, here comes trouble, you know. That was just the great rock and roll advantage that you guys had over every other band, because there was no band that ever came close to what Sister did.
Oh, thank you. You know what? That means an awful lot. We prided ourselves as being a predatory band. We prided ourselves as taking no prisoners. People who say to me, what bands you respect? I always just said, there's only a couple. It's Priest, AC/DC, Motorhead. I think I said ZZ Top or something like that. Was it. Like, because I wanted just to go, fuck, you don't understand. I'm out there to fucking destroy every band we play with, because that's how we survived in the bars. You want to make more money? Blow that fucking band off the stage. Has nothing to do with being friends with them. You don't have to hate them. Just do the job you want to do and blow them off. I want to say a couple of Spinal Tap moments, though, that you may find kind of funny. I hope you do, because they are Spinal Tap moments. During the time of the band was broken up for the 12 years that we had stopped playing before we reformed, I'm walking down the street one day and a fan from Brooklyn sees me. He goes, fucking JJ, hey man, when you gonna fucking put your band back together? I go, the band's not getting back together. That's bullshit, man. Everybody gets together. I said, no. Band's not, no, man, everyone's got a fucking number. What's your number? I said, there's no number. We're not getting together. What's your fucking number? Everyone's got a number. I said, let me ask you something, asshole. You ever been married? Yeah. You divorced? Yeah. How much would it take for you and your ex-wife to be in the tour bus for 30 days? You couldn't fucking pay me enough. So I rest my case. Okay. That's number one. Secondly, regarding our image. And by the way, I'm an Upper West Side Jewish kid, very reformed, very left wing. I saw what was going on. And when I heard when the word came out, Rod Gay, I was like, did you look at the title of the songs? I mean, and then I went past the salad. It's like, whatever the fuck, right? But it's a heavy decision to make, so whatever. So I fully understand the trepidation, but I will tell you this. We came back, in 2003, as you guys come back. We're having a debate. Should we wear the makeup? We put the makeup back on. Now we look like a bunch of middle-aged transvestites. Now it's a little rougher to look like that, but we're still committed. We're committed. We're going to wear makeup. And then we play a show in 2008 at the Arrow Festival in Nijmegen, Holland. And it's us, REO Speedwagon, Kansas, Motorhead, Journey, Def Leppard, Whitesnake, Twisted Sister, and Kiss in one afternoon. Okay, one afternoon.
That's amazing.
2 stages. Each band plays an hour on, back and forth, ping-ponging across the way, 79 euros. I mean, what a show. You don't have that in America, right? That's an amazing show. That's amazing. We're scheduled for 4 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Journey's on before us. D is supposed to be there, but he decides to take the last plane out of JFK and the night before. And the problem is he took an Ambien on the plane at 9 o'clock at night, and he woke up 8 hours later, and he was still on the tarmac at JFK. The plane never took off. Okay. God. So he gets to Amsterdam, and we're 2 hours away, and there's no way for him to get from the airport to the venue. And the promoter's sitting there going, well, it looks like you're not getting paid, and and you're fucked. And we're standing around in t-shirts and jeans, and we're going, shit, I can't he always takes the last plane out. What the fuck? This is the lead singer disease shit, right? Like, was the last, we're sitting around, we get a phone call from our tour manager. I got a helicopter, and we're going to land backstage. But when you get the helicopter in Holland, it's the helicopter. It's the only one available. Yeah. So tiny that it can't carry his stage clothes. So the fucking thing lands at 5 to 4 behind the stage. D pops out in t-shirts and jeans. Yeah. We're all standing there in t-shirts and jeans going, this is how we're playing with Kiss. This is the first time we've done a show with Kiss ever. Like, we're ready to go piss and vinegar full out. Yeah. We're in t-shirts and jeans. We go on stage in t-shirts and jeans, right? Mm-hmm. I am expecting, Rob, the emails to come flying in. I'm expecting the booze to come cascading out. What happens? The next day in the national papers, the only picture in the centerfold section is us. Mm-hmm. Only one. Mm-hmm. Great review. Twist is amazing. I got one email a month later that said, I thought you guys wore makeup. That was it. Yeah. So everything that we had built up in our minds that we thought the fans wanted, they didn't give a shit about. They wanted the music.
They wanted the music. They wanted all I want is the music.
And the power of the band.
It's true. And I say that now, that it's the same belief with Priest. I openly say, look, it doesn't matter how many lights we've got, smoke machines and amps and stacks. It doesn't matter, because it's you and us. You haven't got that in your home when you're playing Priest in your bedroom or Twisted Sister in your bedroom. It's just you and the music. Good. So that's definitely kind of a learning curve that also reinforces that, no matter where you are in life with your band, with your music, there's always something that you cross over, a bridge that you cross over that you thought you'd never get to the other side, because we can't do it. If we don't do this, we can't get there. And there it was. That's just a great example of the real essence of what we're truly about. You strip it all down, it's all about the music and nothing else.
So tell me how much you love playing South America. Tell people how great South American fans are.
It's just extraordinary that there's just, I said earlier about we're all the same. We are all the same, but we're all different. There's no disputing that fact. And South American fans They just have no inhibitions, you know. I mean, they scream, they cry, they just lose it, man.
It's
They
like religion, isn't it?
lose
It's like a religious experience.
It is. It is their passion and their culture in music is so intense. It's just like nowhere else. And that's not to kind of push anybody else out of the way. That would be the wrong thing to do and say. But I think most bands would agree that when you go to that part of the world, something extraordinary happens, you know, as much as it does when we walk on the stage in Sydney, Australia, or Long Island or Birmingham. You know, every audience has got its own beautiful, special characteristic and texture. But when you go down there, it's just chaos. It's chaos.
It's chaos, isn't it?
I can't leave my hotel room.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
You know, we didn't play South America until we reformed, right? So of course we've headlined, like you, Hellfest and Sweden Rock and all the Wacken and all the stuff, right? All the big festivals around the world, and we do great, and it's wonderful, and the fans are phenomenal, and our English fans, without them, we wouldn't have a career. We were signed out of England, all that. We get to South America, and there was something else happening. I was like, what is going on? The kids were even young. It wasn't like they were old either. They're all like 16 to 22. Yeah. They're not even born when We're Not Going to Take It came out, right? We're playing soccer stadiums in South America. And when we got to Buenos Aires, I swear to God, Rob, I have never seen a passionate, people were crying. I mean, they were singing my guitar solos. Fuck singing the lyrics. They were singing the solos. And I don't play my solo note for note like I did 40 years ago. I couldn't go to the front of the stage because they were throwing me off on the guitar solos. And I have to just say that every artist that I've ever spoken to, when I say, and what is it like when you play Buenos Aires or South America? And they go, it's like another level of religion down there. It really is extraordinary to see. And if we hadn't done it, we would have missed out on the connectivity.
But what it does, you did. Yeah.
You know, but what it shows me is the United States may be vacuous in terms of how they view metal bands. But when we play around the world, Europe, Russia, South America, Australia, we see the passion for this music that was so derided by critics in the 80s. 80s metal got destroyed, hammered, crap. You guys are nothing more than corporate this and bullshit that and stupid lyrics. Well, I got news for you, motherfuckers. We are the biggest selling music worldwide. Popular metal music can sell out stadiums in every country around the world today. And that is a testament. And here's what they say in South America too, because the kids say this to me. I go, who do you love? They go, Judas Priest, Motley Crue, Black Sabbath, AC/DC, Twisted Sister. They don't name newer ones. They don't name older ones. They name us. They name our core of bands that have done so much work connecting with these fans. And it's heartwarming and it's very emotional to play for them.
Well, a lot of those bands, all of those bands are innovators and inventors. You know, you want to talk about the roots of heavy metal. It's from Birmingham in the West Midlands. And constantly, Priest and Sabbath are talked about as the guys that started to put that whole thing together. But this is also really, it's a little bit poignant because all of those bands that you've mentioned, we're all moving on now. And I think there's going to be a vacuum after we've gone.
There will be.
You know, there's going to be a vacuum. And it's kind of sad. The music will live forever. But as far as seeing us on stage, that's kind of sad that eventually will go its mortal way.
We can't afford to lose a year or two to COVID. We really can't.
No, we can't. We absolutely can't. And this is what's been so terrible for bands like Priest, that we've had to cancel shows and redo tours and everything else, and the fans, like we always knew, sticking with us. And not just Priest, but literally every band on the planet is having to reschedule, you know, and make the adjustments. And it's terrible because without concerts, you know, without seeing your band, it's just like walking around feeling incomplete. You need to see your band live. You've got to do it, you know. Without the live shows to some extent, the music isn't as strong. You know, it's got to be reinforced by you being in front of your fans that have put you in the place that you are at that particular moment. And I just hope, I just read some news today that there's another vaccine that's looking very, very promising. It's been amazing, hasn't it, this as JJ, because it's all brought us down to one level. It doesn't matter how much money you've got or the kind of car you drive or the house you live in, that COVID's going to find you one way or the other. You know, it shook a lot of people up. I think it's changed the worldview, again, in terms of perspectives, as again, to what is important and what isn't. There's been a tremendous refocus that I think a lot of people are thinking strongly about now.
Let me ask you this question. What's the greatest piece of advice you ever got in the music business?
Oh, dear. Oh, I don't know. Here's one that might be a little bit, it might sound a bit superfluous, but when we first used to we have a great friendship with Gene and Paul from Kiss. And Bruce were out on this big tour that we were invited to open up for Kiss. And I was just talking to Gene about the music business, and he goes, let me just say this. It doesn't matter what they say about you, as long as they've got your picture and they spell your name right. Well, there you go. You know, that says a lot. So it's like seeing that picture of Twisted Sister in that newspaper. Regardless of the words, there was the proof that you exist. Right. You know, and there's the name of the band, and there's the players, and that's the simple, organic whole point of it. You know, that in music, especially in music, there are so many opinions and there are so many different points of view. It's out of your control, and you really have to learn how to. And I'm sure you talk about this with your motivational speaking. You really have to figure things out, because the way that some of the negativity can intrude into your own personal life, you suck, you know, I hope you die of cancer, all this horrible stuff, you've got to learn how to deal with that. Yeah. You see it a lot, particularly in popular music with younger people, because when young people get famous quickly, how can they handle that? How can they handle it? You know, you need experience, you need wisdom. And so that simple message from Gene, I still remember it. Doesn't matter what they say about you, as long as you get your picture in and they spell your name right. And so, that has some validity.
What I tell bands sometimes is, just because someone tells you suck doesn't mean you don't suck. You may really suck. So pay attention when someone tells you suck, because they may have a point there. And Twisted Sister, to its credit, we took a lot of criticism and we weeded out what we thought we could handle, and we removed the rest. Okay. But sometimes the criticism was valid. All right. So therefore, we were able to parse the criticism and said, you know what? They have a point, but fuck them over here. But they have a point over. This was my aha moment. You remember Tommy James and the Shondells? Yes. Right? Hanky Panky, I think we're alone now. Twisted Sister was playing in a little bar in Long Island in 1976 called the 1890s in Baldwin, Long Island. The club is called the 1890s Club. Club holds 300 people. Tommy James is the headliner. Now, in the 60s, 66, 67, 68, he's selling out arenas, right? Superstar. Here he is in 1976, and he's playing this little bar, and we're the opening act, right? So for us, we're just happy to play the bar, right? We don't care. But Tommy James, I'm thinking, what is he thinking? Like, how is he handling it, you know? So we do our little opening set, and then we're walking down the stairs, and Tommy James is walking up the stairs. And I look at Tommy James, and I go, I've never asked anybody for advice. What advice would you give me? And he said, you meet the same people on the way up that you do on the way down, so always treat people nicely. Yeah, absolutely. I swear. And I said, I'm going to remember that. Yeah, it's very, very true. And we did. Because if you treat people well and you have a hard time, they'll help you. But if you treat people terribly and you're having a hard time, and then you go back and go, give me a hand, they'll go tell you to go fuck off. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Yeah, it costs nothing to be kind, you know. I was watching an amazing video last week on Facebook with Ronnie James Dio,
And it was
one of the nicest guys on the planet Earth.
And he's still a mentor to me in how to treat people, and most importantly, how to treat your fans. Never disrespect your fans. Never disrespect people. You know, it is just a motto anyway. But your fans, particularly, because they sustain you, they've given you your life in music. And I was watching this beautiful picture of Ronnie, who comes down from his dressing room. There's a bunch of fans, and he gives each of them not a handshake and a walk by. He gives each of them some moments, you know, because they'll remember that for the rest of their lives. You may forget them because you see 100,000 people, whatever, in your life in music, but those fans will remember that moment for as long as they live.
Sure.
And they'll talk about that day I met this guy, or that day I met that guy.
And if you're an asshole, by the way, they'll never forget that you're an asshole.
They won't. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. So this whole business, that's a great bit of a piece of advice. That's just so real. It is absolutely a fact. And I think it reinforces again that a lot of the bands that have maintained a long life in music, they have that quality. They have that quality of respect and caring and being kind and understanding the balance and the harmony that you need to make. Because it's one thing, again, to have your music to sustain you, but it's not just you. Your band is more than just the 4 or 5 guys or the girls, whatever. It reaches out, as in Priest's case, to millions of fans, as in Sister's case, to millions of fans. And then you got all the other important people, you know, the people that put the wrapping around the vinyl of the album, you know. It's everybody, every single person is connected in this act of kindness, you know. And once you break that line of just being a you know, just a kind person, it can create fractures and ripples, and that's when things can get dangerous.
What is your greatest Lemmy memory?
Oh, the kind of sad that you know, I saw him as we did a South American tour together, and he was sitting by him. You know, I don't know whether it was the same for you, but whenever you leave South America, it's always in the middle of the night. It was like 3 or 4 a.m.
Oh, is this a story on the bar at the airport?
Yeah, at the airport, yeah. And he was just sitting there by himself in a corner, you know, and that's odd. But I mean, Lemmy's Lemmy, and it's this great aura that this guy still has, you know. That's Lemmy. Dare I walk up to him even? But I saw him sitting there, and he looked okay. He was very tired, and we just finished his tour. And I just walked over and I said, "Hey, Lem, I just want to say thanks for the tour. It's been great." "Oh yeah, it's been brilliant. Now, what are you up to now?" "I'm just going to go back to LA and just have a bit of a rest." This is just a short period of time before he passed. And, you know, we just sat there just not saying much. It was just a very, very kind of, if I think about it now, there was something going on there that we didn't talk about, you know. And for whatever reason, I just reached out and held his hand for a bit. We just sat there, you know. It was like 3 a.m. There's just a few people in the lounge. And then I said, can we do a selfie? Depending on Lemmy's mood, you think, "Oh, fuck you," or "Yeah, okay, oh yeah, go on." So we took that selfie together, and that's the last picture that I have of Lemmy and I being together. But it was so powerful and strong that that I have that memory. Just a very sweet, personal, one-on-one experience. It was away from all the fans. It was away from the music. It wasn't even a dressing room. It was a little airport lounge at 3 a.m. somewhere in South America. We were all going to go off into our different places around the world. And that's my memory, you know. So there's that. And then, you know, an opposite one, we're doing some shows in Europe, in Spain, and Motorhead's with Priest, and they come off stage, and whenever Lemmy would come off, he'd put his hair in like a white towel, like a big
the turban.
I'd always run into his dressing room with all my gear on and sit on his lap and give him a hug and a kiss. "How was it, Lem?" "Oh, it's fucking great." And so little things like that from one level to another in really 2 extreme emotions, but 2 beautiful memories. What about you, JJ? Have you got one?
I got two. One is very funny. Well, actually, it's so fucking Lemmy. It's ridiculous. We're playing Nuremberg at the Monsters of Rock Festival. Whitesnake, Meatloaf, Ozzy, us, Blue Oyster Cult, Thin Lizzy's last ever performance. Okay, in Nuremberg, in the stadium where Hitler gave his speeches in the Nuremberg rally speeches.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm standing on stage with my bass player Mark Mendoza, whose real name is Mark Glickman. Mark Finkelstein Glickman. So two Jews, you know, and we're standing on stage, 1983. And we're on a stage facing the building that Hitler made his speeches, right? So there's the building. And I'm sitting there, I look at Mark, I go, 40 years ago, Hitler is there, basically putting you and me in an oven, right? So we're playing, and when Dee is doing It's Only Rock and Roll, But I Like It, and the 50,000 people on the building are putting their right arm up in the air, I'm just seeing a newsreel out of Nuremberg, Germany, right? And I'm freaked out. Like, I'm white as a ghost. As a Jew, I'm white as a ghost, not comfortable. Right, walk off stage, Ozzy Hoppy, you know the promoter, Ozzy Hoppy? He's standing there with Lemmy. He goes, JJ, you Jew? I go, yeah. He goes, yeah, most Jews have the same reaction. I said, what the fuck? He goes, Bob Dylan was here last year. He had the same reaction. I said, well, why not? That's the building that Hitler came out of. So Lemmy hears this, right? Motorhead goes on. They do a song. Lemmy goes, let me hear you scream. I'm standing up by the side by Lemmy. And he goes, you did it louder in 38.
Oh my God.
Of course, nobody got it because they're all 20-year-old GIs drunk. I got it. And Lemmy turned around at me with that little devilish
smile,
right?
He knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing. That was freaky. The last time we saw Lemmy, he came on stage and played with us at some festival in Europe about a year before he passed away. And he was on stage doing It's Only Rock and Roll, But I Like It with us, and he was out of it. Rob, the eyes were glazed over. I don't even think he knew what he was playing. I had my arm around him. I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking, is he going to drop dead, like right now, out of a diabetic coma? Because that's what it looked like. I felt horrible. We get off stage, we walk in the dressing room. Now I'm sitting there with Lemmy. He's got the towel on his head. And I go, Lemmy, we need to do something that's going to be fun. Why don't we call Jill Massey? Jill used to work for Doug Smith, the management company that managed Motorhead, and they managed us in 1982. And I said, we both had a crush on Jill back in the day, right? She was a fantasy crush we both had. So I said, let's call Jill and tell her that we're on the phone together. So I call up, Jill answers. I go, Jill, it's JJ. He goes, and we talked for about 10 minutes, and he was laughing, and we were laughing together, and it was, and Jill said to me, thank you so much. That was her last conversation with Lem. All right. And he died. And that's my last memory of him. And he was so important to Twisted Sister. He gave us credibility in England. He brought us out on stage at Wrexham. He came to the Top of the Pops. He came to the Tube Show. He introduced us at Reading. I mean, without Lemmy's stamp of approval, who knows what would have happened, you know? So we were completely, I mean, and by the way, he never said, I made Twisted Sister. He would never do that. He was never that kind of guy, but he was always a wonderful guy to us. All right. So beautiful. Our connection with him and our connection with him is like that. And our connection with you is amazing. Like I said, spiritually, we're connected. We could go on, and I don't want to keep you any longer. You're on a half hour longer than we had booked you. So I hope that that's okay with you. Because
beautiful. I've enjoyed it. It's been great, man. It's been great.
Because there's so much to discuss. I cannot tell you enough about what Priest has been to me and to Sister. And is there anything about the book you want to mention before we end this? Because it is about you. It is about the book, which I urge people, you must read. If you're a Priest fan, you got to read it for the story of Priest. And if you want to know about bearing your soul and being honest, you need to read this book. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Rob?
Well, but first, I'd like to say this has been one of the most amazing Zooms, because I'm Zooming now, that I've ever done. And it's been an absolute thrill and a pleasure, because this has just been very, very special. Well, you know, it's a bit like when you make your record, you put your heart and soul into your music, and I put my heart and soul into this book, and it's there for everybody to consider getting into. I think more than anything else, this whole essence of love is through the book completely. it's a book about love. You could say it's a book about survival. It's a book about resilience. It's a book about determination. You can throw all of those things into the mix, but really it's just about a book about love. That love is the most important thing in your life. You know, without love, you've got nothing. And particularly in today's world, there's so much divisiveness and hate and screaming and yelling, and people are not, you know, giving each other the time of day just because they're so determined to get their point of view across, which I wholeheartedly support. But there are so many distractions, and that I think this book just kind of, if you find the time to read it, will tell you that this overpowering expression of having love in your life is all that really matters. So that's about it.
Thank you. I want to, a really quick thing, just thank Universal Music and for Warner Music for allowing me to use our own songs for my podcast. I have to remember to say that. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. And Rob, thank you so much. And hopefully over at some point where I'm out there, you're in New York, we get to see each other. We'll go out and have a dinner, and it'll be amazing. It'll be an amazing time. There's so much.
I look forward to that. I really look forward to that, JJ. I wish you, send you metal hails and health and blessings to you and yours.
Thank you.
And love to the rest of the guys.
Thank you.
I know you're still in touch. And yeah, let's go out and have some New York cheesecake.
A Diet Coke too, okay? So we'll have, all right. So to the metal god, to Rob Halford, thank you so much, Rob.
Thank you, JJ, my friend. Right, all the best. I'll see you in the big 21. Yeah.
You got it, man.
All right.
Thank you both very much.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.